Two companies decide what's on almost every shelf you'll stand in front of this week, not as a figure of speech, as a number. Woolworths and Coles together take about 67 cents out of every supermarket dollar spent in this country. The competition regulator looked at that and didn't call it a market. It called it, and I'm quoting, an oligopolistic market structure in which Coles and Woolworths have limited incentive to compete vigorously with each other on price. That's the regulator, not a conspiracy channel, the regulator. And once you really hear that, the whole shop changes. The $2 milk, the big red down down arrow, the little card they ask you to scan before you've even said hello. You start wondering how much of the choice you think you're making is actually yours. So here's what I did. I went through the entire final report from the ACCC, the government's own 12-month investigation, the federal court rulings, the choice testing, and I pulled out the specific moves. The mechanics, how two chains get two-thirds of a whole country's groceries and keep it. I found 10. We're counting them down from 10 to 1, smallest trick to the one that just got them dragged into federal court. Stay to the end because the last three are the ones they'd least like you thinking about, and the very last one a judge has now ruled on. One more thing before we start, because it's the difference between this channel and the noise. Some of what gets blamed on these two isn't fair, and when we hit one of those, I'll stop and tell you. I'm not here to make you angry at a shop front. I'm here to show you the machine behind it. Let's get into it. Before number 10, hold one idea in your head. This isn't two companies that happen to win. It's one shape, a duopoly, wearing two sets of colours, green and white, red and white, one incentive underneath both. When two companies own two-thirds of everything, they don't have to beat each other. They just have to not start a fight. So every trick on this list isn't Coles being clever or Woolies being greedy. It's what any two players do when nobody can touch them. Two faces, one machine. Keep that picture. We'll come back to it. Let's start with the one that sounds boring and isn't: size. You probably remember when a supermarket was just a shop. One shop, one price. The same price for everyone who walked in. Here's where that went. Woolworths runs more than 1,000 supermarkets nationwide. Coles, not far behind. Between them, two-thirds of the grocery spend of an entire continent. Now here's the number that tells you how locked in that is. Aldi, the one chain that genuinely worried them, has been in this country since 2001, more than 20 years. And after 2 decades of hard, cheap, relentless competition, Aldi has about 9% of the market. Metcash, the wholesaler behind most of your local IGAs, about 7. Sit with that. 20 years of trying to reach 9%, a number still smaller than the gap between Woolworths and Coles on their own. That's not a market a newcomer walks into. That's a fortress with 2 names on the gate, and the regulator agrees. It found their dominance is entrenched and that substantial pro-competitive departures from the status quo are unlikely in the foreseeable future. In plain words, don't wait for a hero to ride in and undercut them. The regulator looked and said, one's not coming. That's trick 10. The wall is so high the game's half won before it starts. Now, what they do from behind that wall. Here's a word the supermarkets really don't want you holding next to their name: margin. Over the last 5 years, grocery prices in this country went up about 24%. And I'll be fair, because this is one of those places I promised I would. A lot of that is real cost. Fuel, freight, wages, things that got more expensive for everybody, supermarket or not. The ACCC said that plainly, and so do I. But not all of it. The regulator found that across those same 5 years, Coles and Woolworths increased their product margins and their profit margins, meaning at least some of what you paid extra didn't go to the farmer or the truckie or the bloke stacking the shelf. It went to the margin, and it gets sharper. The ACCC compared them to supermarkets around the world: Walmart in America, Tesco in Britain, Carrefour, Kroger, and found Coles and Woolworths are among the most profitable supermarket businesses among their global peers. Read that back. Among the most profitable supermarkets on the planet. Earned during what every newspaper in the country was calling a cost of living crisis. Here's the exact mechanism. In the regulator's own finding, they have the apparent ability to increase retail margins for packaged grocery products by more than is necessary to accommodate a wholesale price increase. Translate that out of regulator speak. When their costs go up $1, they can put your price up more than $1, and they sometimes do. That's not a normal shop. That's market power, written down by the people whose job is to measure it. Most profitable on earth. While you were rationing the good cheese, that's trick 9. Now the one hiding in plain sight on the shelf. Walk down any aisle and it looks like freedom. Dozens of brands, hundreds. You're spoiled for choice. Here's what that choice is actually worth. About 1 in 5 products on the Woolworths shelf, roughly 21% of around 28,000 products, isn't an independent brand at all. It's Woolworths in a brand's clothing. And Coles has said out loud that it wants 40% of everything it sells to be its own label. 40% of everything. Now, I don't mean the plain no frills packet you already know is home brand. You can spot that one. I mean the disguises. That premium looking skincare brand at Coles called Koi, the one with a nice minimalist bottle that looks like it came from a boutique. That's Coles. Those upmarket Thomas Ducks, cheeses, and dips at Woolworths, the ones with the little artisan producer story printed on the back. Not a boutique. That's Woolworths. Choice. The consumer group, the people who hand out the Shonky Awards every year, went looking and found a whole shelf of these. Brands built to look like somebody else made them. You only find out when you turn the tub around and read the small print, and there's the same name again. And here's where I keep my promise and stop, because the angry version of this is a lie. The supermarket doesn't actually make most of this stuff. A real manufacturer, sometimes a name you'd know like Bega or SPC, makes the home brand version on contract, often on the same line as their own product. So when someone tells you the supermarkets own everything you eat, that's not quite true. They don't own the factory. I won't tell you they do. What they own is better than the factory. They own the shelf. They decide which version sits at eye level, which one's on special this week, and which independent brand quietly loses its spot and disappears. You are never choosing between a dozen companies. You are choosing between a dozen costumes in front of 2 registers. That's trick 8. If you've made it to number 8, you already understand what this channel is. It is not here to tell you to never set foot in a Woolies or a Coles. For half this country, there's nothing else within a half-hour drive, and I'm not going to pretend otherwise. It's here to show you the machine you're standing inside while you shop. Subscribe, because we pull one of these apart every week, and the list never gets shorter. Now, the card in your wallet. You signed up years ago. Everyday rewards at Woolworths. Flybys at Coles. Free to join. A few dollars back now and then. Why wouldn't you? Here's what the regulator says those cards are actually doing. Everyday Rewards has about 11.7 million members. That's the second biggest loyalty scheme in the entire country, behind only Qantas Frequent Flyer. Flybys, about 8.6 million. Put them together and there are more supermarket loyalty memberships in Australia than there are adults. The ACCC examined these programs and landed on 2 words: complexity and opacity. Now, opacity is a polite word, so let me turn it the right way round. The regulator is saying these programs are built in a way that makes it genuinely hard for you to work out whether the member price is a real deal or just theatre. And here's the part almost nobody clocked. That card doesn't only track what you scan. The ACCC found these schemes linked to your payment card and keep gathering information, even on the trips where you never pulled the loyalty card out at all. The regulator recommended they stop doing exactly that. Let that sink in. You thought you were collecting points? The whole time, something was quietly collecting you. That's not a free rewards program. That's an entry fee, and you've been paying it in data without ever seeing the ticket price. That's trick 7. Now it starts getting harder to defend for them. Here's a quiet one that almost never makes the news, and it should. When a company this size buys another shop, or a piece of land, or a whole shopping centre, you'd assume the competition regulator gets told. That's the regulator's whole job, to check whether the big getting bigger hurts the rest of us. Since 2019, Coles and Woolworths have picked up around 260 sites between them: stores, land, shopping centres. And out of those roughly 260, the ACCC was formally notified of 14. 14 out of 260. And sometimes the regulator only found out because a third party told them. That's not against the rules. That's the point. The rules let a company with 2/3 of the market keep absorbing sites almost entirely off the regulator's radar, one purchase at a time. Each one too small to make a headline, all of them together, a map of the country quietly filling up with the same 2 names. This is why the government is now changing the merger laws to force more of these deals into the open. But that's the future. For the last 6 years, the answer to who's keeping an eye on the big two buying up the country was mostly nobody. That's trick six. Number five is the one I have to be most careful with because it's the one where it would be easiest to lie to you, and the easy lie is everywhere online. It goes like this: the big chains buy up empty land near where a competitor might open and just sit on it, leave it as a weed covered block behind a fence so nobody else can build there. It's got a name: land banking, and the raw numbers look damning. Between them, Coles and Woolworths are holding more than 150 undeveloped sites. Woolworths around 105, Coles 59, Aldi 17. Here's where everyone online finishes the sentence for you. So they're doing it on purpose to block rivals. And here's where I stop because I read what the regulator actually said. The ACCC looked directly at that question. And it wrote, I'm quoting, that it did not observe Coles and Woolworths engaging in a deliberate or overarching strategy of land banking. It said proving that intent was too complex and sat outside what the inquiry could do. So I'm not going to hand you a master plan that the people who actually ran the 12-month investigation said they could not find. That would make me the Aussie supermarket version of every channel I can't stand. What is on the record? They hold the land. They have, in the regulator's words, real advantages in grabbing the good sites: the size, the reputation, the money to buy and wait. At a Senate hearing, an internal Woolworths document even surfaced describing some sites as held for strategic reasons, with no build planned, and Woolworths executives flatly denied that was land banking. So here's the honest version: the empty blocks are real, the advantage is real, and the intent is not proven. That's less satisfying than a villain. It's also true. And the effect on you, fewer new competitors, however it happened, is the same. That's trick five, the honest one. If you're still with me at number five, do me a favour, drop the word blocks in the comments. I want to know how many of you made it past the boring sounding ones to here, because this is where most channels have already lost you, and you didn't quit. The best three are still coming, quick one, because it's infuriating in how little has changed. Back in 2008, 18 years ago, the ACCC ran a different supermarket inquiry, and even then, it found that the planning and zoning system could be gamed to delay or block a competitor from opening a store nearby. 18 years. The man who ran that 2008 inquiry, former ACCC chair Graham Samuel, has said since that barely anything changed in all that time. Think about what that means. A small operator finds a site, wants to open a grocery store to actually compete, and the approval process is a maze that the big two, with their lawyers and their planners and their patience, navigate far more easily than a newcomer ever could. The rule book itself is one of the locks, and in this year's report, the ACCC's recommendation was, essentially, that every level of government needs to simplify planning to let competitors in, which is a polite way of admitting the system has been quietly working against you for the better part of 2 decades. That's trick four. Now the two big ones. You're not imagining it. The box really did get smaller. Choice. Same consumer group. The shonky people. Went and measured. They found product after product that shrank while the price stayed put or even climbed. Here are the receipts, and I mean exact ones. Coles' own Mighty Grains cereal. It was 560 grams. It's now $4.95. Same price, $4.50. You're paying the same money for 65 grams less breakfast. Woolworths Max Charge cereal, 560 grams down to $4.95. Price held at $4.50. Same trick, other logo. Two faces, one machine. There it is again. Woolworths' own original salted corn chips, 200 grams down to $1.75. Same $2.30. Work it out per 100 grams, and you're paying almost 14% more for the privilege of a lighter packet. Now, here's the bit that matters for keeping this honest. When Choice asked, both Coles and Woolworths said they hadn't profited from these changes, that the supplier changed the pack size and kept the cost saving. Maybe. I'll let you decide how likely it is that every one of these landed in the customer's lap by accident. But I'll put their answer on screen because that's the deal on this channel. And here's the kicker: the regulator and the government both admitted shrinkflation is not illegal. And right now, nothing forces a supermarket to tell you the box shrank. Choice has been pushing for shrinkflation labels France already makes Carrefour do it. Here, you're on your own with a calculator. The fix, the one in your control. Ignore the price on the front. Read the little unit price, the per 100 grams, in the corner of the ticket. That number can't wear a disguise. That's the one they're quietest about. That's trick three, two left. Number two isn't one tactic. It's the way all of them are wired together to do a single thing: stop you from ever being sure what anything actually costs. Think about what we've already counted: prices that move up before a special, boxes that shrink while the ticket holds, a loyalty card that hides the real price behind a member price, high-low pricing, where the same product cycles between an inflated price and a discount every few weeks. So the sale price is often just the normal price wearing a party hat. Each one on its own is survivable. Stacked together, they do something specific. The ACCC said it directly. Coles and Woolworths run promotional activity and loyalty programs that make it harder for consumers to judge whether they are getting a good deal. That's the actual product, not the groceries, the confusion. A shopper who knows exactly what milk costs is a shopper you can't fool with an arrow. So the entire system is tuned to make sure you never quite know. Different prices in-store and online. Specials that aren't. Sizes that drift. A card that promises savings, it won't let you verify. And it works because of something completely human. Nobody has room in their head for the real price of 200 items. The chains know that. They're not betting against your intelligence. They're betting against your memory. That's trick two. And it sets up number one, because number one is the moment they ran that exact playbook one step too far, and a judge called it. Number one, the arrow. Down, down. Prices dropped. The single most recognised promise in Australian retail. A price falling with a satisfying little thunk. In September 2024, the ACCC took both Coles and Woolworths to the federal court and said that promise was, on hundreds of products, a trick. The accusation in plain English: put the price up, hold it up for a while, then drop it back near where it started, and stick a down, down ticket on it like you'd done the shopper a favour. And here is where I have to separate two things very carefully, because they are not in the same place, and a channel that tells you the truth doesn't blur them. On Coles, the court has ruled. In May 2026, the federal court found that Coles breached consumer law, that it misled customers on 13 of the 14 down tickets the regulator put in front of the judge relating to claims across hundreds of products. That is not an allegation anymore. A judge looked at the falling price arrow on Coles shelves and called it misleading. The ACCC chair welcomed the finding. On Woolworths, the prices dropped case, as this was written, the court had not yet handed down its judgment. So I'm not going to tell you a court ruled against Woolworths, because at the time of recording, it hadn't. Allegation, not verdict. The moment that judgment lands, I'll tell you exactly what it said. But sit with what's already proven. The most trusted discount signal in the country, on shelves a court has now ruled against, was found to be misleading shoppers on 13 of 14 tickets tested. Almost every single one, every time that arrow made you feel like you'd won, a court says you might have just been played. That's number one, and that's the list. Now, here's what this video is not. It's not me leaving you angry and helpless in an aisle you can't avoid. That's the cheap version, and it's useless to you, because the same 12-month inquiry that documented all 10 of these also handed you the cracks in the machine. And it told you something important. The regulator did not recommend breaking the two of them up. It looked at that and said no. What it gave you instead wasn't a rescue. It was leverage, small, real, and yours. So here's the other half of the deal. What you actually do with all this on Monday morning. 1. Learn one baseline price. Just one. The thing you buy every single week. The second you know what milk really costs most of the year, the falling arrow stops working on you. A court already ruled that arrow was misleading on Coles. You don't need an app to beat it. You need one number in your head. 2. Read the unit price, never the front. The little per 100 grams in the corner of the ticket is the one number that can't shrink on you, can't wear a disguise, and can't be dressed up as a special. The chains are quietest about the one number that actually tells the truth. Use it. 3. Split the shop. Aldi's 9% and the Independent's 7 only grow if people feed them. And that sliver is the only real competitive pressure in the entire system. You don't have to abandon Woolies or Coles. Just put one category, the one where they're proudest of the special, through someone else's register. Competition in this country exists because some people voted with one trolley at a time. 4. The card is not free. The regulator told them to stop collecting on the trips you didn't scan. Until they actually do, know that the points come at a price you pay in data. Maybe the few dollars back is worth it to you. Maybe it isn't. The point is, it's your call to make on purpose, not theirs to make quietly while you're reading the back of a cereal box that just got smaller. And one thing that isn't on you at all. From the 1st of July 2026, there's a new law aimed squarely at the very largest retailers in the country. Right now, the only two big enough to qualify are, take a guess, the rule was written to fit exactly 2 companies. You already know their names. Here's the one thing to carry out of this. The gap between 2 companies taking 67 cents of your grocery dollar and you having a real choice, that gap is not a free market. And it's not a master plan either. The regulator was careful about both, and so was I. It's something quieter and harder to fix. It's entrenched, comfortable, built to stay exactly as it is, unless enough people stop treating the arrow like a gift and start reading the corner of the ticket. 10 tricks, 2 faces, 1 machine. And now you can see the seam. So tell me in the comments, are you a Woolies house or a Coles house? And after watching this, are you actually changing anything, or are you back there Thursday like the rest of us? Be honest. I read them. And next week, we go inside a single shelf, the one corner of the store they make the most money on and tell you the least about. After these 10, you'll want to see that one. Subscribe so it lands on your screen when it drops.